Commander Allison Gray stood at the entrance of America's most advanced research facility. 3 years had passed since the aliens called the Galactic Concordat had arrived on Earth. Today, she would guide some of these aliens through the building. Her hand rested on her sidearm, a habit from her days as a Navy SEAL. Remember, they're guests, not threats, she told herself quietly. A group of 5 aliens approached. 4 were tall, blue-skinned beings with 6 fingers on each hand. The 5th was different, a green, mantis-like creature that moved with careful steps. This was Xazril, the Veldari representative. "Welcome to the Nevada Research Center," Allison said with a practiced smile. "I'll be your security escort today." The blue aliens nodded, but Xazril's compound eyes seemed to study her with unusual interest. Dr. Eric Powell, the facility director, joined them at the door. He was a short man with thick glasses and nervous hands. "We're honored by your visit," he said. "Please follow me. We have much to show you." As they walked through the building, Allison noticed something odd. The aliens showed little interest in the advanced spaceflight technology or medical research. Instead, they lingered at displays about radiation shielding and basic particle physics, things that seemed simple compared to their own technology. Why would they care about our primitive radiation shields? She wondered. After lunch, Dr. Powell pulled Allison aside in the hallway. "Something's not right," he whispered. "They asked to see our quantum computing lab 3 times. The same lab they said was charmingly primitive last month." Allison nodded. "I noticed. Keep the tour going. I'll check the security logs." In the small security office, Allison reviewed the day's camera footage. Then she checked records from previous alien visits. A pattern emerged. The Veldari, Xazril, had visited the quantum lab during every trip, and each time, the security cameras had experienced brief technical problems. "Too many coincidences," she muttered. That night, after the aliens returned to their quarters, Allison stayed behind. She dimmed the lights in the security center and waited, watching the monitors. At 2:17 a.m., a shadow moved through the hallway toward the quantum computing lab. The cameras flickered, but Allison had installed a backup system that morning. She watched as Xazril used some kind of device to unlock the lab door. Allison moved quietly through the building. Her training allowed her to approach the lab without making a sound. Inside, Xazril had connected a small alien device to the main computer. "That's far enough," Allison said, stepping into the room with her weapon drawn. The alien froze, mandibles clicking in what might have been surprise. "I could report this as an act of espionage," Allison said, "but I think you'll explain why a member of an advanced alien federation needs to steal information from our primitive computers." Xazril disconnected the device slowly. "You are more observant than expected, Commander Gray. Why are you really here?" Allison asked. The truth this time. The alien seemed to consider its options. Then it made a sound like a sigh. "What I tell you now puts my life at risk," Xazril said. "The Concordat is not what it appears to be." "Go on," Allison said, weapon still ready. "Earth sits at the edge of contested space. The Concordat has been evaluating your species." "Evaluating us for what?" Xazril's compound eyes reflected the dim light of the lab. "To decide if you are worth protecting from what approaches, or if your world should be sacrificed as a buffer zone." Allison felt a chill. "What approaches?" "A force that consumes worlds. The Concordat has fought them for centuries, and we are losing." The alien's voice dropped lower. "Your planet sits at a crucial spatial junction. The High Command is deciding if humans will make useful allies or useful sacrifices." Allison lowered her weapon slightly. "Why tell me this?" "Because some of us disagree with the High Command's methods, and because your species has shown unexpected potential." Xazril extended a thin arm, offering the device. "Take this. It contains proof of what I've told you. But you must be careful who you share it with. The Concordat has eyes everywhere." Allison took the device, knowing that everything had just changed. Earth wasn't being welcomed into a peaceful galactic community. It was being assessed for its strategic value in an interstellar war. Allison sat in a small, secure room with three people she trusted most. Frank Bennett, her former commander, leaned against the wall. His weathered face showed concern. Dr. Olivia Ward, a brilliant scientist with short gray hair, studied the alien device. Next to her, Dr. Eric Powell nervously adjusted his glasses. "Play it again," Frank said. Dr. Ward tapped the device. A 3D image appeared above it, showing stars and planets. Red lines cut across the map, moving toward Earth. "The Nexus Hegemony," Dr. Ward read from her notes. "A hive mind collective that takes over worlds for resources. They'd been fighting the Concordat for hundreds of years. And we're next on their list," Frank said. Allison nodded. Exadisrael said Earth sits at an important location. The Concordat is deciding if we should be protected or used as a buffer zone while they retreat. Dr. Powell pulled up images on his tablet. "Look at these, astronomical data from the past 6 months." The pictures showed faint flashes of light at the edge of the solar system. "Battles," Allison said. "They're already fighting in our backyard." Dr. Ward stood up and paced the room. "I noticed something strange about the Concordat's technology sharing. They show us amazing things, but the actual tech they give us is outdated. Like giving a smartphone to someone who's never seen electricity, but it's an old model with half the functions disabled." "They're studying our weapons," Frank added. "Every tour, every exchange program. They want to know how we fight." "Not how we fight," Allison corrected. "If we're worth saving." The room fell silent as the reality sank in. "We need to tell the president," Frank finally said. 2 days later, they sat in the Oval Office. President Daniels listened carefully as they explained the situation. His face grew more serious with each detail. "You're sure about this?" he asked when they finished. Allison handed him the data crystal. "This contains evidence of battles already happening in the Kuiper Belt. The Concordat is hiding it from us." The president studied the images. "What do you suggest we do? We can't fight aliens with technology centuries beyond ours." Frank stepped forward. "We propose Project Sunshield, sir. On the surface, we continue cooperating with the Concordat, but secretly, we develop our own defenses. We learn what we can from them while preparing for the possibility they'll abandon us." "You want me to authorize a secret defense program behind the backs of aliens who could wipe us out?" The president's voice was skeptical. "With respect, sir," Allison said, "they're already keeping secrets from us. Big ones." Dr. Ward touched the device, showing a new image. "This is a Concordat transmission we decoded. They're discussing Earth's strategic sacrifice potential. They're already planning for our possible destruction." The president was quiet for a long moment. "How would this work practically?" "We create 2 teams," Frank explained. "The public team continues working with the Concordat. The shadow team takes what we learn and develops independent technology. We focus on our strengths, not trying to copy their tech." "Our strengths?" the president asked. Dr. Ward smiled slightly. "Humans are good at thinking outside the box. The Concordat has been fighting this war the same way for centuries. Maybe fresh eyes are what's needed." The president looked at each of them. "If the Concordat discovers this, then we were doomed anyway," Allison finished. "If they truly saw us as equals, they would have been honest from the start." After a long silence, the president nodded. "Approved. Project Sunshield begins immediately. Dr. Ward, you'll lead the scientific division. Commander Bennett, you'll handle military applications. Commander Gray, you'll continue as our liaison with the Concordat." They must suspect nothing. As they left the Oval Office, Allison felt the weight of their task. They needed to build defenses against a threat they barely understood, using knowledge from allies they couldn't trust. "Do you think we can do this?" Dr. Powell asked quietly. Allison thought about Exazril's words. Your species has shown unexpected potential. We don't have a choice, she replied. But I think we might surprise everyone, including ourselves. 6 months passed since Project Sunshield began. In a secure underground lab, Dr. Olivia Ward examined a small piece of metal under a microscope. The fragment had been recovered from the edge of the solar system, debris from a battle between Concordat and Nexus ships. Try it with the quantum filter, she said to her assistant. Kyle Reeves, a tall man with a buzz cut and steady hands, adjusted the settings on their scanner. This is the 5th test today, Doc. What are we looking for? I'm not sure yet. Something doesn't add up. The scanner hummed. On the screen, patterns appeared that weren't visible before. Dr. Ward leaned forward. There it is again, she whispered. Kyle, look at this. He moved beside her. I see it. Faint signals, almost like communications, she finished. Our scanner picks them up, but the Concordat devices miss them entirely. Kyle scratched his head. How is that possible? Their tech is centuries ahead of ours. Dr. Ward sat back in her chair thinking, what if that's exactly why? What if they're so advanced they've filtered out what they consider background noise? She turned to her computer and began typing rapidly. Get me the radiation reports from the last 3 lunar scans. An hour later, Allison received an urgent message to come to the lab. When she arrived, Dr. Ward was buzzing with excitement. We found something, she said, pulling Allison to a display screen. Humans evolved on a planet with higher background radiation than most Concordat species. Our technology is naturally designed to work in noisy environments. Kyle pointed to a graph. The Nexus communicates using quantum signals that the Concordat filters out as cosmic background radiation. But our devices catch it because we're used to working with interference. You're saying we can detect Nexus communications that the Concordat can't? Allison asked. Not just detect, Dr. Ward said. Potentially predict. Their signals contain patterns, movement orders, attack formations, coordination instructions. Allison thought for a moment. We need more minds on this, specialists who think differently. Within days, a new team formed. Allison and Kyle handpicked scientists who weren't part of the official Concordat exchange program. People whose ideas were considered too unusual by mainstream science. Nathan Carter was one such recruit, a physicist with wild red hair and an even wilder reputation. He'd been rejected by major universities for his nonsensical theories about dimensional phasing. When Kyle brought him to the lab, Nathan immediately saw patterns no one else had noticed. It's like music, he explained, pointing to the signal waves. These patterns follow harmonic progressions, similar to Western music theory. Dr. Ward looked skeptical. You're saying alien hive minds communicate using something like human music. Not like our music, Nathan corrected, but the mathematical principles are similar. Look. He quickly plotted several Nexus attack formations from previous battles onto a chart, then overlaid them with musical chord progressions. The correlation was undeniable. This is how we can predict their movements, he said excitedly. The Nexus doesn't just send signals through technology. They use the fabric of space-time itself as a transmission medium, creating ripples that follow natural harmonic laws. Allison stared at the display. The Concordat has been fighting these things for centuries. How could they miss this? Different evolutionary path, Dr. Ward suggested. Most Concordat species evolved in low radiation environments. Their brains process patterns differently than ours. Kyle grinned. So humans might actually have an advantage over the most advanced species in the galaxy. That's going to be an awkward conversation at the next diplomatic dinner. Allison didn't smile. This stays secret for now. If the Concordat learns we can track Nexus movements better than they can, they might see us as more valuable or more threatening. Nathan was already working on a new model. I need more data. Past Nexus attack patterns, recorded signals, anything we have. You'll get it, Allison promised. But remember, this project doesn't exist officially. As she left the lab, Allison felt something she hadn't experienced in months: hope. Humanity wasn't just copying alien technology anymore. We had found something unique, a way of seeing the universe that even advanced civilizations had missed. For the first time, she believed Earth might have a chance. The Concordat Embassy in Washington, D.C. looked peaceful in the morning light, but inside, tensions were high. Allison sat across from Ambassador Krex, a tall blue-skinned alien whose 4 eyes blinked in different patterns when he was upset. Right now, all 4 were blinking rapidly. "Your government has restricted our access to 3 military bases," Krex said. "This violates our protection agreement." Allison kept her face neutral. "There are routine security upgrades happening at those facilities. The restrictions are temporary. We require immediate access to verify these upgrades do not violate our technology sharing protocols." "I'll take your concerns to my superiors," Allison said politely. Back at Sunshield headquarters, Frank Bennett waited with Kyle Reeves. "How did it go?" Frank asked. "Not well. They're getting suspicious." Allison took off her formal jacket. "What's the latest problem?" Kyle brought up images on the main screen. 4 research satellites went dark last night. At first, we thought it was equipment failure, but look at this. He zoomed in on footage from a nearby satellite. A small Concordat ship was visible near one of the disabled satellites. "They're sabotaging our equipment," Frank said. "It gets worse," Kyle continued. "I found access logs showing Concordat observers downloading massive amounts of data from our defense network. They're mapping everything: weapons platforms, command centers, communication hubs." Dr. Powell rushed into the room, looking pale. "You need to see this." He handed Allison a tablet. On it was a classified Concordat transmission that Sunshield had intercepted and decoded. Allison read it aloud. "Earth's position confirmed as primary buffer zone. Evacuation timeline accelerated. Defensive value assessment, moderate. Recommended action, tactical withdrawal following initial Nexus engagement." The room fell silent. "They're planning to use Earth as a battlefield and then retreat," Frank said finally. "They never intended to protect us." "There's more," Dr. Powell said quietly. "The neural interfaces they provided for their educational program. They've been scanning human brain patterns. They're using our minds as biological processors for their war simulations." Allison felt cold anger building inside her. How many people? Millions. Anyone who used their enhanced learning technology. Before they could discuss further, an alarm sounded. Kyle checked the security feed. Concordat ships just docked at Lunar Base Alpha. They're calling it an emergency inspection. Frank checked his tablet. That base houses half our orbital defense control systems. They're going to disable our defenses before they leave. Allison realized. We need to get up there now. 3 hours later, Allison and a small team of Sunshield security personnel arrived at Lunar Base Alpha. The Concordat inspection team had already begun accessing the main control systems. "This area is restricted," Allison told the lead inspector, a Veldari who wasn't ex-Azrael. "We have authority under Section 12 of the Protection Agreement," the alien replied. "Your species is displaying concerning behaviors." "Like trying to protect ourselves?" Allison asked. The Veldari's compound eyes narrowed. "Move aside, Commander Gray." Instead, Allison gave a signal. Her team moved quickly, deploying neural disruption devices designed specifically for Concordat nervous systems. Within seconds, the alien inspectors were unconscious. "Secure their ship and gear," she ordered, "and get me a direct line to the President." The response was swift. Within hours, Concordat ships across the solar system began breaking orbit. Ambassador Krex issued a formal statement declaring humanity in violation of protection agreements and announcing the immediate withdrawal of all Concordat forces. As alien ships departed Earth orbit, Allison stood with Frank in the control center, watching the tactical display. "They're really leaving us to face the Nexus alone," Frank said. Not just leaving us, Allison corrected. Using us. The Nexus is 8 months away according to our projections. The Concordat is positioning their fleet just beyond Mars' orbit. They'll wait for Earth to absorb the first attack, then strike while the Nexus is occupied. Frank looked grim. So what now? Allison turned to the room full of Earth's best scientists and soldiers. Now we do what humans do best. We adapt. We innovate. And we prove them wrong. She looked at Nathan and Dr. Ward. How soon can we deploy the harmonic disruption technology? 3 months for a basic network, Nathan answered. But we've never tested it against actual Nexus ships. You'll get your chance, Allison said, because we're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting to show the galaxy that humanity isn't a sacrificial pawn in someone else's war. President Daniels stood before the United Nations General Assembly. On screens behind him, images showed the Concordat ships leaving Earth orbit. The room was silent as he explained the truth about the alien retreat and the approaching Nexus threat. We have 8 months before the main Nexus fleet arrives, he said. Today, I am revealing the existence of Project Sunshield, a classified defense initiative that has been developing technologies to protect Earth without Concordat assistance. Across the globe, people watched in shock as their leaders confirmed that humanity would face this threat alone. At Sunshield headquarters, Allison addressed the expanded team of scientists and military personnel from a dozen countries. From now on, we operate in the open, she said. Operation Home Shield is our unified defense plan. Dr. Ward will explain our primary strategy. Dr. Ward stepped forward. Thanks to Nathan Carter's breakthrough, we've developed a network of harmonic disruption platforms. These can predict Nexus movements and potentially interfere with their hive mind communication. She showed a model of Earth surrounded by orbiting satellites. Each platform broadcasts counter-harmonic signals that disrupt the Nexus coordination. It's like trying to have a conversation while someone plays clashing music. It makes it harder for them to think clearly as a unified mind. Kyle took over. We've also adapted our nuclear arsenal to produce the specific radiation signatures that Nexus ships appear vulnerable to. Our weapons are less advanced, but they target specific weaknesses. A scientist from India raised her hand. Will this be enough against a force that has challenged even the Concordat for centuries? We don't know, Allison admitted. But we have an advantage they don't know about. We can see patterns in their communications that the Concordat missed entirely. While Earth prepared, Allison and Frank led a mission to a Concordat outpost on Mars that had been abandoned during their hasty retreat. The facility was built into the side of a crater, its doors left partially open in their rush to leave. They left in a hurry, Frank said as they entered the darkened base. Check everything. Download any data you can find. The team moved through the building, collecting abandoned technology and accessing computer systems. In a sealed back room, Allison found something unexpected. Records of other species the Concordat had used as buffer zones in the past. We're not the first, she told Frank, showing him the files. They'd done this at least 7 times before. Set up worlds as defensive positions, then retreated when the Nexus attacked. Did any of those species survive? Frank asked. Allison scrolled through the data. No, but none of them had what we have. They returned to Earth with valuable technical information about both Concordat and Nexus capabilities. The data accelerated Earth's defensive preparations. 2 months later, the warning came. Long-range sensors detected a small fleet of ships entering the solar system. Not the main Nexus force, but a scout group of about 30 vessels. They're earlier than we predicted, Nathan said, studying the data. But their movement patterns match our harmonic models perfectly. Allison stood in the Global Defense Center as military leaders from around the world prepared their forces. This is it, our first real test, she said. Deploy the harmonic disruptors. Around Earth, the network of satellites activated, broadcasting carefully calculated signals designed to interfere with Nexus coordination. On screens, they watched as the approaching ships seemed to hesitate, their formation becoming less precise. "It's working," Kyle said. "They're having trouble coordinating." The Nexus ships recovered quickly and split into attack groups. Defensive systems around the world activated as they approached Earth. Missiles with modified warheads launched from silos and submarines. Orbital platforms fired energy weapons adapted from Concordat technology. The battle was brutal. 3 major cities suffered heavy damage from Nexus weapons that broke through the defenses. Millions of lives were lost. But humanity's preparation paid off. The harmonic disruption worked better than expected, causing Nexus ships to miss targets and occasionally fire on each other in confusion. When it ended, 17 Nexus ships had been destroyed. The remaining 13 retreated beyond Mars orbit. In the defense center, the mood was mixed. Grief for the losses, but also determination and a glimmer of hope. "We hurt them," Frank said. "No one's ever driven off a Nexus attack before." Allison watched the retreating ships on the tactical display. This was just a scout force. "The main fleet is still coming." "Yes," Dr. Ward said, studying data from the battle. "But we learned something crucial. The Nexus adapted their tactics mid-fight. They started using new communication frequencies to bypass our disruption." "Isn't that bad news?" Frank asked. "Actually, it's important information," Nathan replied. "The Concordat claimed the Nexus was just a mindless consuming force. But they're not. They're intelligent. They can learn." "Which means we need to learn faster," Allison said. "We have 3 months until the main fleet arrives. Let's get to work." The attack by the Nexus scout fleet changed everything. With millions dead and 3 cities in ruins, Earth's remaining time became precious. The Harmonic Shield Initiative grew from Project Sunshield, expanding across the planet as humanity raced to improve their defenses before the main Nexus fleet arrived. Nathan worked day and night, refining his prediction algorithms. The music-based patterns became more complex as he incorporated data from the recent battle. They adapted to our disruption signals, he explained to Allison during a rare break. "We need to make our system more flexible, able to shift frequencies faster than they can adjust." In a lab across the hall, Lisa Nguyen tested new equipment. She wasn't a scientist, but a musician, a cellist with a background in acoustics engineering. Kyle had recruited her after hearing her lecture on wave interference patterns. "I think I found something," she called to Nathan and Allison. "Look at this." On her screen was a complex diagram of overlapping waves. The Nexus communication follows principles similar to constructive and destructive wave interference in music. When 2 waves meet, they either amplify each other or cancel each other out. She played a simple example on her tablet. 2 tones started separately, then overlapped. When they matched perfectly, the sound grew louder. When slightly misaligned, they created an unpleasant buzz. "That's what our current system does," Lisa explained. "We create the buzz that confuses them, but they found a way around it by changing their base frequency." "So how do we fix that?" Allison asked. Lisa smiled. "Instead of just broadcasting counter-frequencies, we create a constantly evolving symphony. Multiple overlapping patterns that shift unpredictably. They can adapt to one change, but not hundreds happening simultaneously." Kyle, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped forward. "Could we build a global network of quantum resonators to broadcast these patterns?" "Yes," Lisa said, "but we'd need to coordinate them perfectly." "Like an orchestra," Nathan added, understanding immediately. The plan moved forward rapidly. Construction teams worked around the clock to build resonator stations across the planet. Each station contained technology adapted from both human science and recovered Concordat equipment. 2 months into the project, an unexpected visitor arrived. A damaged Concordat ship entered Earth orbit, broadcasting emergency signals and requesting permission to land. In a secure hangar, Allison faced the ship's captain, a bird-like alien named Trelvor, whose silver feathers were singed and broken. "Why should we help you?" Allison asked. Your people abandoned us. Trelvor's voice was raspy. The Nexus destroyed our retrieve fleet. Only my ship escaped. He extended a data crystal. I bring valuable intelligence. The Nexus has identified humans as a unique threat. Why would they consider us a threat? Your technology is centuries ahead of ours. Not technology, Trelvor said. Your harmonic disruption. No species has ever interfered with their communication so effectively. They fear what they cannot understand. Frank, standing beside Allison, took the crystal. And in exchange for this information, asylum, the alien replied simply. I cannot return to the Concordat. I violated orders by coming here. Later, in the analysis lab, Kyle extracted the data from the crystal. It contained intercepted Nexus communications and tactical information about their fleet strength. This is crucial, he told Allison. According to this, the Nexus central consciousness must maintain continuous connection with all its units. If that connection is severed for more than a few minutes, the disconnected units become inert. So our harmonic shield doesn't just confuse them, Allison realized. It could potentially cut off parts of their hive mind completely. Exactly, Kyle said. But there's something else. He brought up another file. Trelvor included Concordat communications. There was a faction within their leadership that opposed abandoning Earth. They believed humans had potential the others didn't see. Let me guess, Allison said. Exazril was part of this faction. Kyle nodded. The leader of it, apparently. They secretly provided key technological hints that helped spark Nathan's breakthrough. Outside the lab window, construction crews worked on another resonator tower. Similar scenes played out across the planet as the countdown to the Nexus arrival continued. In her quarters that night, Allison studied tactical projections. The main Nexus fleet was massive, hundreds of ships that would arrive in less than a month. Earth's defenses were stronger now, but still incomplete. She thought about Exazril and the other Concordat dissidents who had seen something in humanity worth saving. Maybe they were right. Maybe humans did have something special to offer the galaxy. A different way of seeing, of thinking, of fighting. Earth would soon find out if that difference was enough to save them. The day finally came. Long-range sensors detected the Nexus main fleet entering the solar system. A vast swarm of biomechanical ships that darkened space like a moving shadow. Earth's defenses activated as the global population took shelter. 342 ships, Kyle reported in the command center. More than we expected. Allison stood before the tactical display, surrounded by military leaders from across the world. All harmonic shield stations report ready. Orbital defenses at full power. President Daniels joined them via secure video link. Commander Gray, you have full authority. Good luck. The first attack came swiftly. Nexus ships bypassed Jupiter's orbit and approached Earth in a complex formation. The harmonic shield activated, broadcasting the counter-frequency patterns Lisa and Nathan had designed. At first, it worked perfectly. The Nexus ship's formation wavered. Several collided as their coordination faltered. Earth's defensive weapons found their targets, destroying 14 ships in the first wave. But the Nexus adapted quickly. Their ships reorganized, shifting communication frequencies faster than predicted. A second wave broke through the outer defenses and attacked Earth directly. Orbital platforms exploded. 3 harmonic shield stations went dark as Nexus weapons struck them. They're adapting to our counter-harmonics, Nathan shouted over alarms, shifting faster than we can adjust. In the weapons lab, Lisa watched the battle data with growing alarm. Then she saw a pattern. They're not random. They're cycling through harmonic progressions, just more complex ones than we predicted. She called the command center. Allison, we need to reprogram the shield. Not with fixed patterns, but with a continuously evolving symphony. How? Allison asked. We can't rewrite the program that quickly. We don't need to, Lisa replied. Use the neural network we built with human brain pattern data. It can compose in real time. adapting like a living musician. Nathan, hearing this, turned to Kyle. She's right. The neural network was built to recognize patterns the way human brains do. If we feed it the battle data, it can create counterharmonics that evolve unpredictably. Do it, Allison ordered. As scientists reprogrammed the harmonic shield, Nexus landing ships broke through to Earth's surface. Ground forces engaged the enemy in cities across the globe. The Nexus deployed walking machines that cut through conventional defenses. The battle seemed to be turning against humanity when Nathan's voice came over the command channel. Shield reprogramming complete. Activating neural network symphony now. Across the planet, the remaining harmonic shield stations changed their broadcast patterns. Instead of fixed counter frequencies, they began emitting a complex, ever-changing symphony based on human brain patterns. The effect was immediate. Nexus ships began losing coordination, their attacks becoming increasingly disorganized. Allison saw the opportunity. All forces implement Operation Crescendo. Military units worldwide launched a synchronized attack timed precisely to the peaks and valleys of the harmonic disruption. As predicted, Nexus units separated from their central mind for more than a few minutes became dormant, easy targets for Earth's weapons. The battle raged for 3 days. Parts of Earth were devastated, but humanity fought with fierce determination. When it ended, over 200 Nexus ships had been destroyed. The remaining vessels retreated beyond the solar system, their hive mind coordination shattered by Earth's harmonic defense. 1 year later, Allison stood at the United Nations Plaza in the rebuilt New York City. Behind her, a monument honored the millions lost in the Nexus War. Before her, delegations from Earth's nations gathered to witness a historic moment. A Concordat diplomatic vessel landed nearby. Exazril emerged, leading a small group of aliens including Trelvor. The Veldari approached Allison. The Concordat High Command wishes to offer Earth full membership in the Galactic Concordat, he said formally. Your defense against the Nexus was unprecedented. Allison smiled slightly. Earth has a different proposal. She handed Exazril a data tablet. We're forming a new interstellar alliance based on transparent cooperation. Several former Concordat species have already expressed interest. Exazril's compound eyes studied her. You have changed the equation, Commander Gray. Beyond the ceremony, on a Florida launchpad, Earth's first true interstellar vessel prepared for departure. The UES Harmony carried the most powerful version of the harmonic shield ever built. Its mission: to extend friendship to peaceful civilizations while establishing a network of shields across vulnerable star systems. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, not as victims or servants, but as innovators and protectors, exposing a new way forward for all sentient life.